if we're defining soup as something you eat with a spoon out of a bowl, then yes, it's soup.
Yeah.
But then we had the discussion, well, does it have to, it's because somebody said it has to be hot. And it's like,
But then
no,
there's
there's
ceviche.
yeah, exactly. Or there's Gestapo or whatever. There's a soup that's
I don't
cold.
think it's Gestapo. They're going to tell you what's in it. You'll get to decide.
I'll tell you if I'm soup. You don't tell me, okay?
For friends listening, I think she needs gazpacho.
Gazpacho, yeah. What did I say? Gestapo? I'm so dumb sometimes. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. This is season 5 of Shooting the Breeze. This week, my guest is Toronto-based filmmaker Kelly Zemnickis. She's an award-winning filmmaker. She won the Outstanding Documentary Award at the 2023 Floating Film Festival. She's also a comic, a really funny comic, and one of my good friends. So welcome, Kelly.
Thanks, Simone. It's great to be here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I've been a guest on your numerous podcasts. Oh, she's also a podcaster.
Yeah. And really, thank you for having me. Thank me for having. We're good, guys.
We're fine.
We haven't been drinking. It's fine.
It's a Sunday afternoon. That's what you do. So Kelly and I met a few years ago. We met during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And on a show. I can't remember what show.
Oof.
Yeah, I don't remember what online show. But then after, I thought you were so funny. And then I invited you onto my show. And we kept in touch after that. And then we were in a competition.
Mm-hmm.
We could talk about that later. I had Ray Lockdust on a few weeks ago when we talked about that. Yeah. And like your name came up because you were part of that.
Yes.
You were our de facto team leader. So we could talk about that. And then we met in person for the first time in Toronto.
Yeah, Comedy Bar.
Yeah, at Comedy Bar in 2021? Because it was for the finals of that competition.
Yeah. Yeah, we were allowed to be in the same room. So
yes, things were opening up. Yeah, we were allowed to be in the same room. So we met each other at Comedy Bar in Toronto. Yeah. And yes, it was 2021 because I remember the next day I drove back for the finals of the Yuck Yuck competition. Right. I was in Toronto for like 45 minutes. I drove back. Yeah, just like, and yeah, we've seen each other a bunch of times since then. Mm-hmm. You know, I think the last time was
we went for
February. Yeah, in February.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was in town for some shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad to have you here.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. That was such a crazy show. I remember there was an audience member who needed medical assistance. And I was like,
oh, yeah.
I used to usher at a theater. I had seen patrons at a theater show take ill, need to leave, whatever. At a comedy show, that was a first for me. I was like, I had never seen that go down. And curiously, it came to mind the other night because I was doing a show in Toronto at the Comedy Lab. And it's a really cool club, very tight little venue, like not a ton of room in it. And I was in sort of like the lobby area waiting to do my set. A guy came out that I just assumed was kind of hammered based on how he was walking. And Simone, he just went like right on the concrete in front of me. He just fainted. Yeah, and I was the only one there. When he came to, his friends came out, they got him off to the hospital, but he was like, he didn't even remember leaving his seat.
Oh my, so he was in the show, got up, left.
Yeah, so I guess he was feeling dizzy or woozy, got out into the lobby and just face planted. What's happening?
It's you. It's you. because I know that night I was in the green room,
Right.
and as you know, like at a comedy show, when it's going on and you're in the green room, you're hearing all kinds of activity.
Yeah.
Like we're
Yeah.
talking in the green room, there's this stuff, you may not hear exactly what the comic is saying, and it was the headliner who was on. So
Yeah.
you just hear there's like a level of noise that's happening. And
Yes.
so there were, I think, three of us in there talking, and then all of a sudden we were like, I remember I kind of went like, why is it quiet?
Yeah, it's like, what's going on?
It's quiet. And I remember getting up and looking out and just seeing the headliner, like, and then he was like, I'm gonna leave the stage, sort of thing. And I was like, what's going on? And a patron said that a man collapsed
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
like he got up and left on his own steam,
Mhm.
and then I heard that he refused like ambulance or whatever, but
Oh,
that's what I
interesting.
heard. Whether that's accurate or not, I don't know, but
I would have
yeah,
taken
strange. And then it
that.
took, I think, the whole thing from when I noticed that it was quiet to when the
Mhm.
show resumed might have been 15 minutes. It wasn't that long.
It wasn't that long at all,
Yeah.
and everybody just sort of, like, hustled up and got the room back to, like, an
Mhm.
even level where we were like, "Is it okay to laugh?"
Yeah, yeah. And the
Um,
headliner did an excellent job of like bringing it back,
yeah,
of addressing it,
exactly.
sort of riffing on it. Not, he wasn't
Yeah.
disrespectful or anything. He was just riffing on what
Yeah.
happened just to reset the room, and then found his spot, and then continued. And all I can remember thinking is like, thank God it was him. Thank
Oh
God
my
he was
goodness.
on the stage, because I don't know how I would have handled it. Help! Help! I don't know what I would have done. I
I
probably would have panicked, because that's got to be scary to
I've got
see someone
enough.
just,
Yeah. Like,
oh my,
I've got enough worries as my like, on my own for, like, taking ill when I'm up there, because 'Cause I'm
exactly.
a nervous girl, and I don't know about you, but, like, that walk to the stage, however long or short it is, my brain's going through everything. It's like, "Is my stomach okay? Did I pee enough? Am I gonna throw up? Like, what's going on?" And then I get to the stage and I feel that all seems to go away, but
Mhm.
that's definitely always a thing for me of like, is I just don't wanna pee my pants.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't want to fart. I don't want to do
Nothing
anything.
bad.
I don't want to throw up, anything like that. I don't want any of that to happen. And that's just with me, let alone I'm looking out in the audience and somebody's eyes roll back and they fall out of their chair. Like,
No. Comedy's dangerous.
it's dangerous. I remember seeing a woman fall out of her chair, but she was hammered. She was hammered.
Yeah.
Like, we were, because this was 20, yeah, this was 2021. And
Okay.
so heavy restrictions were still in place. And the
Mhm.
comics, we were all at the bar at the back.
Mhm. Yeah.
So we could see the floor and
Right.
everything. This is at the old Yuck Yucks location on Elgin.
Okay.
And this woman, she I don't know if they were on a date or what, but this couple was there, and she was having a blast. She's just laughing, 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 and we were entertained by her, just because everything was hilarious to her. And then
Right.
boom, she's on the floor, and then she's laughing, still laughing. So she laughed herself out of the chair.
I've never done that. Have you?
I mean, I've laughed hard, but not laugh so
Yeah,
hard
I've
I
not
fell on the
moved out of my
floor.
seat.
No, no, no. Like I use it as like oh, I was on the floor. I was on the floor. I
Right.
was laughing, so I was on the floor, but I wasn't literally on the floor. I don't think that's ever happened. you know? But yeah, this was funny because at first we were like, what the fuck? And then we noticed she's laughing, and she's like, trying to get back up, and
Yeah.
then she sat back down.
I I can't say I've ever gotten on the floor, but I've certainly had moments either at a comedy club or most definitely back in the day where, there would be like a Hallmark card store and my mom and I would go look for a card and just lose it over the stupidest, like, shoebox greeting card. And I have to get, like, lower to, like, get my breath back. I've gotten close to the floor when
Oh
la
my God. I think the closest I have, and it's not even, I'm not close to the floor, but I've laughed so hard that like I can't breathe
Yeah,
and that
yeah,
I'm like dizzy, like literally
yes,
dizzy, where I'm like, oh, everything's spinning,
yeah,
because something is just so funny that
yeah,
it's literally like getting kicked in the stomach, like just
yeah,
everything,
yeah.
the air
It's
sucked out of you.
the best and the, like, most annoying feeling at the same time because 'cause you're
Yeah.
like, "This hurts."
It's true. It's true. It's like it's so funny, but it's like I can't breathe. I'm seeing spots. I'm dizzy. If I wasn't laughing, like this would be serious. If I wasn't laughing, I'd have to call 911. Like this would be a medical emergency if
Yeah,
this funny thing wasn't happening in front of me. Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah. In those cases, I don't know if laughter is the best medicine. It's like quiet, a lot of quiet.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. But I know
Oh,
like I've been a guest on your own podcast as well as your newest one with do you have with Carrie and Mary
and
and
Matt.
and
Yeah,
Matt called
order
Order
up.
Up?
Yeah,
That was
we're
fun when I was on it. That was a
oh
lot
my
of
gosh.
fun.
It was such a treat to have you on Order Up, and, I I gotta take a moment, for those listening or watching. Order Up, I think we're, like, one of 92 podcasts called Order Up. So
That's like mine. I'm one of like 4,000 called Shooting the Breeze. And they run the gamut from fishing to guns to
we thought we were being
me
so
too. I thought I
clever.
was being like clever and kitschy and no, no.
It's like, "Nope." But we have a we have an orange background and a logo with, like, a fork and a spoon, so you can find us. Um As long as you can see color and shapes, you can find us just fine. But no, it's so much fun doing Order Up because it's just like, it's taking folks like yourself, like our extremely talented friends and being like, love that you're crushing it, love that you're doing all this. What do you think about cereal being soup? Like
Exactly.
it's fun.
But I've noticed a theme with your own podcast,
It'll be fine.
It'll Be Fine
Yeah.
and Order Up, it's food.
I love food.
Yeah, because when I was on yours, or I think the question you asked me is a hamburger a sandwich?
Yeah.
We had this whole discussion, and I watched the clip from that we did. It was last spring, last
Yeah.
May, and it was so funny because we were adorable and
Yeah.
delightful.
Oh my
But
God.
you
Yeah.
asked me the question, we had all this discussion. It just went into this circle with because we were talking about open face sandwiches, and then, well, what about this? And you asked me, well, what would you consider it with chicken? And I'm like, a sandwich. So he just was right back in the circle. He just went round and round and round. And I'm like, because it's got bread and this, and it's inside, and that makes it a sandwich. But what about this?
No.
Is a hot dog a sandwich? Like, is this?
It is it is my favorite question because, like, I have to credit, fellow comedian Desiree Walsh with putting that question in my brain. We were doing some virtual show and someone asked about, is a hot dog a sandwich? And Desiree was like, "What about a hamburger?" I'm like, "I've never" oh, geez. That's a good
Because I
question.
think I brought up the thing of it's a separate section. Like sandwiches and burgers are separate sections on it's
Yeah,
not burgers aren't under sandwiches and
they're
sandwiches aren't
not.
under
They're
burgers.
they're near to each other. They're like, first cousins.
Yeah,
Um,
they're
uh,
kin. Kin. Like, kin folk.
there was some reception, very incestuous reception,
There's
relationships.
bread and meat.
But but the original name, if you go back and back, was hamburger sandwich. I mean, it's not
Really?
yeah. When
Hamburger
it when it
sandwich, okay.
when the I can't think of anything right now because Simone and I have been drinking all afternoon. But it used to be called that, and, like, how, not that long ago, Americans called french fries freedom fries in
Yes.
rebellion, against whatever France was doing at the time. Um, they used to, refer to the hamburger sandwich as the Liberty sandwich because it was, again, Hamburg, Germany, the war, we're not gonna associate, so we'll call it. Yeah, so it's an America. I don't. The
I
hamburger,
think
it's got a it needs a soap opera. The hamburger needs a soap opera. I feel like.
yeah, because
Yeah.
wow. Because
Yeah.
I'd never given food that much thought before. And it's one of those things where you're like, oh, is it? Like, what is it? Like, and then the whole soup is cereal soup thing. I was like,
I know. My co-host, Carrie Haim, it was one of her kids who was like, "Mom, is cereal soup?" And my head exploded. It's like, I've never what? Children are amazing.
because I'm
Yeah,
still thinking about it because I think you guys ranked me as like neutral or
I think we
something. I think
did.
it was neutral because I was
Yeah.
like, if if we're defining soup as something you eat with a spoon out of a bowl, then yes, it's soup.
Yeah.
But if but then we had the discussion, well, does it have to it's because somebody said it has to be hot. And it's like,
But then
no,
there's
there's
ceviche.
yeah, exactly, or Gestapo or whatever. There's a soup that's
I don't think it's
cold.
Gestapo.
See, this is the headache where everything's dizzy now. Like this is the laugh where I'm like,
Gestapo soupy. They're gonna tell you what's in it. You'll get to
exactly.
decide.
I'll tell you if I'm soup. You don't tell me, okay?
I just snorted.
I do what I want. It's like,
Oh
you
my
don't you
god.
don't tell me I'm soup. you you don't get to say you don't get to say that, okay? You don't decide. It's not up to you. It's me. I decide.
For friends listening, I think she means gazpacho.
the squat the spot show. Yeah. What did I say? Stop. I'm so dumb sometimes. Oh
Oh
my
gosh. But I think someone out there should create a Gestapo gazpacho just for fun.
just for kicks like this. Oh, that's funny. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
It's a cookie. No, it's soup. Um, oh, that's
Yes.
hilarious.
It's because I noticed a theme that because when I was on your show
Yeah.
back in May,
Yeah.
we made was it tiramisu that we made?
Tiramisu.
Tiramisu. That was so
Yeah.
good.
Oh, it was
It was
so
so
good. It was so boozy.
it was really boozy. It was
Oh my
really,
god, it was a
really
great
boozy.
it
We had a nice buzz after. We're like, it was very boozy, but delicious. Delicious,
Oh, it's so good. I
Oh
love
my god.
doing that. Like the thing like when Toronto and the whole gosh darn world went into lockdown, like one thing that I would love to do with friends like either I knew well or just kind of knew or maybe barely knew was have people over, have a dinner party, make something together, talk and laugh and ask, ridiculous questions. And um the fact that I was able to figure out, I think successfully, how to do It'll Be Fine virtually, and I still continue to do it virtually because I can
Mhm.
cook now with anybody wherever.
Right.
It gave me that bonding experience, of like making and laughing and sharing. And then when I was able to bring guests back into the kitchen safely, it, I mean, it kicks it up a notch because like
Yeah.
food is such a great like connector. While you're baking something, you'll bring up a story, a recipe your mom had or your dad had.
Mhm.
Oh, I remember when I used to have that when I was a kid. And
Yeah.
like that's just such a great way to learn about each other. Cause like when we're in the club, we're either like really in our head, we may have a quick exchange with each other,
Mhm.
talk about a show coming up, what
Right.
have you, but I don't really know how your day was,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
true. That's
Or
true.
so it's just been so great, and you've got to come back in the kitchen. We'll make something else.
Oh yeah, I'd love that. I'd love to. That was so much fun. That was so much fun because I like the aspect of like doing an activity.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing an activity because I found that you just relax a little more, and
Yeah.
as you're doing the activity, because we had way too much fun.
It was so
We
much
were like stirring, like making jokes about stirring and all kinds of stuff. And what was we made like a porn reference or something with
There are so
was it
many
with the
porny
eggs?
references in baking. There's so many. Oh
Oh,
my
it was the fluffy peaks or something. We had to whip the egg whites. They were like, we need
right.
soft
Stiff
peaks.
peaks.
The soft stiff peaks or soft peaks or something.
They
And
did
of
their
course,
name.
two comics, we went off on these. So funny. So
Oh god.
funny. But yeah, there's something about,
Yeah.
I think, like when you're getting to know someone or you're bonding with someone, like you said, whether it's someone you know already or someone you're getting to know, there's that unique bonding experience when you're doing an activity together. So
Yeah.
whether you're cooking or you're doing a puzzle or you're trying to figure out some kind of activity, I find that it makes it easier
Yeah.
uh and just a deeper bond, because I thought we were good friends already, but we sort of
Mhm.
like really
Yes.
bonded even more like after that show. And I think maybe also because I don't think we had spent as much that much time together in the same room,
No, I mean,
you
I had
know?
seen you, like, through the benefit of doing stuff online, I got to see you a lot more and talk to you a lot
Mhm.
more, but,
Right.
like, you're coming into my home,
Right.
or I'm going into your home, and you're, like, in the same space making something, and
Right.
as adults, like, you and I were not moms, but, like, our friends who have kids, like, they would send their kids to go to each other's house and play
Right.
together, that kind of
Exactly. We were like, yeah, it
you know,
was
we
us.
adults might be in the back gabbing over a Chardonnay or something, but, like, we were making a thing, and
Yeah.
adults don't really play with their food very
Yeah, we
much,
don't play very much
and
because I
it's
remember as a kid, if like go with
Mhm.
my sister and I would go with our parents,
Yeah.
like to some other person's house, and if they had kids, we'd be playing with them. It'd be like, oh, or
Mhm.
they'd come to our house and we'd like show them our toys, and you want to play this game. And yeah, that's how you, if you didn't know each other, that's how you played, that's how you bonded with an
Exactly, it's
activity.
yeah, and as grown-ups, that allowance to, like, yesterday I was coloring, because 'cause I'm a grown-up, I can do
Yeah,
that.
you can do what you want. Do
But we don't
whatever.
do that kind of shit enough, because it sort of feels like, "Oh, that's, like, wasting my time," and it is
It's
not.
not. It's
It is
not.
so important to play and to take time for yourself and to, like, because then you kinda maybe, figure out something new to talk about next time you're on stage, or it
Yep.
leads to another story, but it's so important to play, and
Yeah.
food just food just contains, like, sure, it contains all these different ingredients and nutrients, but it also contains, like, a ton of stories
Oh,
that wouldn't have
yes.
necessarily come out otherwise, which is a great way to bond with someone, and,
Definitely.
it's I remember when I started doing It'll Be Fine, which was in 2019. A lot of people hear the name of the show, It'll Be Fine. By the way, you can find it, on YouTube, and, it wasn't a pandemic birth, it was actually before the pandemic,
Before, right.
it was something that I started doing, and I'd have these comics come over, and it kind of felt a bit like a blind date, whether it was a female or a male comic, um, it was kinda like, "Oh, like someone's coming into my home," and, like, I had a very, very tiny kitchen, so we were very close together,
Yeah.
but what a great way to get to know someone new and connect over a recipe and a dish. And some people I've lost touch with and really don't talk too much anymore. But like yourself, I feel like it made the friendship so much stronger.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because that wasn't the first time we had met in person. We had met
No.
before,
Correct.
and we've,
Yeah.
we message each other, we keep in touch and stuff like that. But yeah,
Mhm.
that really
Yeah.
bonded us,
Yeah.
because we had some great stories and just like memories,
Yeah.
and the jokes were insane
They
sort
were
of thing.
so
Yeah, it was just such like a beautiful bonding experience, and
absolutely. Yeah.
and
And
so
it's
it was, yeah.
hard, it's hard to make friends, I'd say, like, at our age, but as you get older, it's not so easy to make new friends.
It's not. Like, you can meet
No.
a lot of people, but to say, to meet people and then call them friends,
Yeah.
it's difficult. It is,
Yeah.
it's not easy at all.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
easy at all,
But
just
we've done it,
because we
Simone.
we did it. We did it. We defied whatever. We did it.
With our
with
gazpacho.
our Gestapo soup. Discussions. But I had mentioned, at the top of this show, like, we met on an online show, on a virtual
Mhm.
show, and when I was in at your home last spring,
Mhm.
it came up that our comedy journeys were very similar. Were pretty
Yes.
similar. That we got started not around different times, but the events or life life activities that, like, we were both motivated to start comedy under similar circumstances.
Yeah.
And you
Loss.
Yeah, loss. Yeah,
Uh,
grief and loss. Yeah.
I don't know about you, but when people ask me, "How did you get started in comedy?" Do you take a moment and be like, "Do you really wanna know how I got started in comedy?"
Yeah, well, yeah, because for me, it's like it's such a long it's so long, because it's like,
Yeah.
do you want to know, like, when I first wanted to do it, because that was 15,
Right.
and then all the things I did to avoid doing it?
Right.
Or do you want to know about when I actually decided I need to do this? Whatever. Because
Yeah, you kinda figure out, like, the Coles Notes. Do
yeah.
the kids still say the Coles Notes? I have no
I,
idea.
I I think
I
we've
don't
probably lost a bunch of people. I think that's a generational thing. Like,
the
I
short
understood
form,
it.
the
Yeah.
tweet.
Yeah, yeah, the tweet, or what would be the tweet, or the TikTok version.
TikTok version, yeah.
I don't
Um,
know. But yeah, for those of you under the age of 30, or under the age of 40, maybe even, the
Coles Notes
Coles
were a
Notes
lifetime.
was
Oh,
from, like, English class, like, so you didn't have to read the whole tomb of Shakespeare. There
no.
there were these books,
Yeah,
like actual books, called
yeah,
Coles Notes, that just broke it all down,
yeah.
and it was like a condensed version of XYZ
Mhm.
literary piece.
Saved my ass
Oh
many
yeah, I read the
many
Coles Notes a lot of times, because it was like, I didn't read the book, and it's like 700 pages, and
times. I am still
I need
reading Gone with
information
the
now.
Wind.
This was before
Yeah,
Google and the internet and all of that stuff.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
no,
Coles Notes
I
are.
started reading Gone with the Wind in 1992, and I am not done. But I say that because 'cause I've seen the movie about 15 times.
Okay.
It used to be on PBS a lot, so there we go. No, like, much like yourself, like, I I knew I gravitated towards stand-up when I was a lot younger, but the puzzle pieces never fit together for, like, "Oh, this maybe is something I could do." When I was, I think I was about, like, 17 or 18, I started working at a comedy club in Toronto on the tech side. But it wasn't until I was in my late 30s and I suffered a big loss in that my first boyfriend found out far too late that he had cancer. Um, that was my impetus for, like, I remember getting off the phone and I was on the floor in tears after that call. because I knew he was never going to go home. I knew things weren't going to get any better for him. And when I got off that call, I remember just having this massive light bulb moment of like, go do every single gosh darn thing you have ever wanted to do because you can. And he's not going home. And I was like, I've always thought of doing stand up. And 7 days later, I did my very first set.
Wow.
Like, I didn't take any classes. I didn't talk to anyone about how to write out a set. Um, I just knew a couple of guys in Toronto who were running a show, uh, that was called, it was called Bombays, Bombabes, and basically it was centered around, like, an artist going to this show to do something artistic, but that they were not known for. And these 2 guys knew me as a comedy club technician,
Mm.
and I went up to them or I, Facebooked them. I was like, "Can I do a set? I just really wanna try this." And that's where I did my first one. And I remember when I got on that stage, as nervous, freaking terrified as I was that day, the moment I got on that stage, it was like, "Where have you been all my life?" It was like this portal opened up. Like, here I am losing someone who was so important to me. And, he was
Yeah.
a great deal older than I was. And so logic would dictate he was probably going to go before me. We were not a couple at the time that this happened, but we stayed incredibly close. Very, very good friends. So logic would dictate that James was not going to be there one day, but
Right.
not to the pace and degree that, it happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm suffering that. And then this joy is flooding into my life. But it was kind of apropos of like what he brought into my world because from the moment I met him at Second City back in, oh gosh, it must have been like 96 or 97. Um, he knew that, oh, you're going to be great at stage managing. Come work on this show that I know about. Like he could see things in me that I couldn't see in myself.
Mm.
Um, it was this wonderful friend mentorship romance that I don't know if I would have done stand up had he not gotten cancer, which is the craziest part.
Wow. Yeah. I relate to that
Yeah.
so much, so much, so much because like I wanted to do it since I was 15,
Yeah.
but was too afraid. I was painfully shy as a kid. So I didn't know how it was going to happen. you know?
Right.
I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I gravitated towards, stand up. Like I was a student of it. I studied it. I would go to shows. I would rent VHS tapes and just
Yeah.
watch,
Yeah.
sort of thing. And I remember telling my friend when I was about 15 that I wanted to do it. And she was like, "That's cool." And she didn't try and talk me out of it or anything, but I didn't realize till much like a few years ago that I hadn't told anybody else. Like my family knew that I enjoyed comedy, but they didn't
Okay.
know that I wanted to do it.
Right.
And when I was living in Toronto, I lived there for 17 years,
Mhm.
and I would Google or look up, comedy classes and things like Second City and all these other theater theater things would come up, and I'd be like, "Yeah, yeah, that sounds good. I'm going to do it." And I would never do it. I would chicken out. And I also had the thing of if I did it, I'm not telling anybody. I'm gonna
Right.
go out like to Rexdale or something where nobody knows me and I'll do it there, sort of thing. So I just kept putting it
Yeah.
back. And then it was a series of things. Like I lost my father in 2014.
Mhm.
And the whole while I always felt like something was missing.
Yeah.
There was something missing. I couldn't put my finger on it,
Mhm.
but it just that feeling of something missing. So I would try and fill it with other things. So it's like, oh, I'll go back to school, which was great. And it felt okay for a while. And then I'm back to feeling something's missing. So I try something else. I learned something else. Was trying to fill it with all these different things that never worked.
Mhm.
And then I lost my dad in 2014, and then that got it going again.
Okay.
And then then it was a series of things. I lost my mom in October of 18.
Wow.
A significant a significant but toxic relationship finally
Yeah.
ended.
Yeah.
Um, I got the job in Ottawa.
Mhm.
So I moved. So I lost my mother, relationship ended, left Toronto, moved to Ottawa, didn't know anybody here. Then my
Mhm.
best friend died of cancer. And it was
Yeah.
one of those feelings of like anything can happen. And
Yeah.
the way that my life is going right now, I'm just going to be filled with regret.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's wild when that, everyone talks about, "Oh, I'm looking for like that green light, that exit door, that thing." And when it busts wide open, it it does. Like
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
you're not listening. Okay, like here it
Yes,
goes.
and that's the thing, like, every time I got that feeling, that was it saying, "You need to do something about this," and
Yeah.
it was almost like I finally came online, and it was like, "This keeps coming up, and I keep
Yeah.
doing things, I keep pushing it down and trying to fill it with something else.
Yeah.
Let me face it." So I was like, I have to do it. No matter how scary it is, I have to do it. So this
Yeah.
time I actually found a course, was through
Awesome.
Absolute, and
Yeah.
I did it. And I was like, even if I went in thinking it's a one and done,
Me
just get it out
too.
of my system, have fun, like I can get on with my life sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the first the first class, it
Mhm.
was given by Pierre Bro, who's a brilliant actor, comedian, great man. He's been a wonderful mentor and friend to me. And
Mhm.
his theory, his philosophy was to get us up on stage as quickly as possible.
Yeah, you
Like not a
gotta.
lot of theory
Yeah.
and stuff. Like he didn't teach us to write jokes. He's like, it's stuff that's funny to you. He's like, I'm just gonna help you with it. That's
Yeah.
it. But his thing was to get us as comfortable on the stage as possible. And I remember being like, oh, the stage, I forgot about the stage, sort of thing. And so the exercise that we did, and this was all within like the first 45 minutes of the course, the first
Mhm.
hour, was he gave us a punchline we had to come up with. No, he gave us a premise, we
Oh,
had to come up with
wow.
a punchline,
Okay.
and he gave us, I don't know, like 10 minutes or something. And then
Yeah.
one by one, he called us up. And that was our introduction to the stage and to introduce
Oh,
ourselves.
yeah.
Like he would ask us questions. That was our introduction to
Oh,
being on the stage and to
yeah.
introduce ourselves to our classmates. And I remember sitting there freaking the fuck out because I was like, I'm not very good under pressure.
Okay.
So to be like, you have to come up with a punchline, fuck. You know? So I remember just panicking. And then it came to me like I think he had given us an order, or I was one of the last ones. So I knew I was going up soon. And it
Yeah.
finally, it like one came to me and I was like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
And when he
Oh my
called me, when he
gosh.
said it was my turn, it was, this is going to sound stupid, but have you ever seen The Lion King?
Oh,
The
yeah.
movie, you know, at the end with the rain and he's walking and everything, the skies are opening. That's what it was like. That's what it was like. Like when I got up from the chair, I was like, "Bah!" But as soon as I stepped
Yeah.
up onto the stage, just this warm feeling, like I heard angels singing, just like the
Yeah.
sky open, everything. And I
I
was
feel
like,
that, yeah.
yeah, and it was like, where has this been my whole fucking life? Like, why did I wait so
No.
long? Like, yeah,
I know, and I've certainly over the years had moments of like, "Why didn't I do this when I was starting out as a tech? Why?" And I've
yeah,
done improv, I've been on stage, I've been in plays, I've got no issue with talking
yeah,
to large groups of people, but something about like anytime I was teching a stand-up show and I would, the comics would be up there, I'd always be in the booth going, there is no way I could do that. That looks so terrifying. You are one person trying to
yeah,
make this whole room laugh. And some people would do well and some people wouldn't. I was like, can't do it, can't do it.
yeah.
But, but the a few years before James died, or got sick rather, I was working those shows and I had this voice in my head every time I was at the club that was like, kinda tapping me on the shoulder like, "Why aren't you up
Yeah,
there?"
you can do this. Like, when are
And I was
you
like,
doing this? Yeah.
"Who is saying
Who is
that?
that?
Who is no, I'm not." No,
My
but
whole thing was like, I can't, I'm too
yeah,
scared, I'm too scared. And I got tired of hearing myself say for anything, not just about stand up, of saying I couldn't do it or I was too scared. And it started to piss me off because I'm like, I'm saying I can't do something. I haven't even tried it. I
no,
don't
I
know
know.
if I can do it or not,
Oh,
you
I
know?
put it
Yeah.
back to, like, toxic stuff from, like, I was bullied in school. I was
Same,
bullied in
same.
grade 7 was my year of the bully. So lots of therapy has helped me get to this point, but I think there were, like, aspects of that person who tormented me when I was younger that somehow became, like, meshed with my own inner
Yeah,
monologue.
yeah, it's almost like I took over from where the bullies
I
left
got
off and
this.
moved on and went on with their life, and I took over, and I was the
Like a
one with like, "You're gonna
relay race.
suck. Everyone's gonna hate you. They're
Yeah,
gonna throw tomatoes and
yeah,
cans at you, and you're not funny. Nobody's gonna laugh." I know I took over
yeah.
at
Oh,
some point. Like, I took over with the toxic talk for
yeah,
sure, you know?
100%. So I think there
Yeah.
was, like, a lot of that stuff because clearly for me, I was always putting myself in the room of funny people. I've
Mhm.
worked on shows like Royal Canadian Air Force on CBC. I
Yeah.
have, been around tons of comics from Second City or wherever working on shows with them.
Yeah.
I was always in the space and it just took a little bit,
Yeah,
but
because you didn't
I
recognize it. You didn't recognize it as a sign. I
no,
think that's what it is. You didn't recognize it as a sign because, like you, I was always in, like, I was always around comedy somehow. Like, I would actively go, and I'd go by myself. It wasn't like, oh, I'll get a group of people and go. No, it's like,
I
so
went
and so's in town. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get a ticket and go. Or, oh, this club. I'm free tonight. I'm gonna go. Like, I would just go. Wouldn't talk to anybody,
no.
but just being there, and then even like say in circles where I was very comfortable. So like with my family or my friends and stuff, like
Mhm.
I could make people laugh. Like I knew I could do it. And I've said this on like different things that I didn't realize till I started doing comedy and like actively writing bits and stuff that's what I was doing. My processing was
Mhm.
like tags. I was tagging shit,
Yeah,
to process things, like something traumatic would happen or something upsetting would happen, and my brain would automatically like, what's
yeah,
the silver lining? How can I
yeah,
make this funny? How do like processing the trauma to like get through it? And
absolutely.
and that's
Yeah,
what we do when we write bits and we write jokes and stuff
yeah.
like that. And I didn't realize that that's what I'd been doing like my whole life, just to and even like I got bullied a lot as a kid, and um diffusing situations that I would end up getting in trouble because I said something about their mother or something like
Me
that. So,
too.
some kid's about to pound the shit out of me, and I'd be like, "Your mother's a whore," and they'd be like, and I'm like, "I didn't get hit. They didn't beat me up," sort of thing. But I got in trouble for,
Yeah,
because I was too saucy or whatever.
right. No, I feel that. I totally feel
But yeah, I used it to disarm people, and I learned very quickly because also growing up as a black kid, some
Mhm.
people like to talk down to you and, oh, your attitude and your tone. So I had to be very careful about telling people off. I had to be as polite as possible, but
Yeah,
still get my point across, because like it wasn't acceptable for me to lose my shit.
yeah,
So I had to do it in a very even tempered but still yet deadly kind of way, And I think I've carried some of that over to my stand up, because that was the only way that I could be heard. Because as soon as I would get like emotional, oh, it's angry black woman, you're so angry, your attitude, this, that, the other, and that would make me even more enraged. And it
Right.
was like, no, you need to listen to me, you piece of shit. Like
Yep.
this, you know what I mean? So I had to learn very quickly and at a young age how to diffuse and how to navigate that,
Yeah.
get my point across, say what I need to say in a
Mhm.
way that I'm not just going to get dismissed, you know?
Exactly, and I think now, like, we're able to know the power of our own voice, and, I mean, I'm still learning
Oh, for
how to
sure. Me too.
use it properly and speak up when I need to, when my gut's telling me, "No, you got this," and I'm
Yeah.
still learning how to use it, but I never could have done stand-up when I was 20 because I had no idea how to, like, navigate
Yeah.
that voice of mine. Because yeah, I
Exactly.
was you know, I was someone who was always carrying around a notebook and a pen and paper. I was someone who was very headstrong as a kid that other students mocked me for. Like, I, I mean, my experiences too, obviously, were different in that I'm pretty white, but
And
but
I'm pretty not.
but But what I really got, sort of like my butt kicked for was I knew I wanted to get into TV. I knew I wanted to do this. I talked about my dream, and that wasn't very cool with some of
Mm.
my classmates.
Right?
You
Because,
know,
like, looking back, you could probably say because they didn't have any, but at the time,
most
yeah,
likely, yeah.
at the
But yeah.
time.
No, I knew from the word go, I was like, I know I'm going to be a guest on the Arsenio Hall show. Okay, that show doesn't exist anymore, but I know
Whatever
someone
the
who does
equivalent is
Arsenio
to
now, so
yeah, no, it's yeah, I relate to that. I relate to that because I I guess at some level I knew that I was going to do it. I just didn't know how and I
yeah.
didn't know when. And I
Mm.
try not to like I try not to dwell on, oh, I wish I had just been like, fuck it, I'm like 18, I'm going to do this. Because like you said, I was a mess back then. Like I
Oh,
didn't,
yeah.
as much as I don't know. Because I always think like had I done this, started this in my 20s or even my 30s,
Mhm.
what would I be like now? What would I be like
Yeah,
now? Because
good question.
starting it when I did, I was 52 when I started.
Mhm.
I had a whole life experience. I was a grown woman. Like I knew how to handle myself and, I knew my limits and my things like
Right.
that. At 20, I didn't know my limits. I had no limits sort of thing. And I would have done everything to like ultra excess. I would have done all the drugs, would have
Oh,
slept
yeah?
with everybody. I would have done all the crazy shit, you know,
Well, I already
without
slept with
limitations,
everybody.
just because just being young and what was that?
Like, I already slept with everybody.
Oh yeah, I'm just aware of it now. So just like it's purposeful. Yeah, but I mean, I can't. How can I explain it? Because like right now, it's like
Mhm.
I'm secure with who I am, and it's just learning how to harness my voice and learning how to take all that life experience and bring it to the stage, sort of thing. Whereas
Well,
if
yeah. I
when you
just
don't have life experience and you don't know who you are yet, you're still learning who you are.
yeah. I just wanted to interrupt, like, I watch what you're doing, and I'm like, "Oh, this is like guideposts for me of, like, how to navigate a comedy career." Like, I watch what you're
Really?
doing, and I'm, like, in awe.
Oh,
I'm
thank
truly
you.
in awe. I'm like, "Oh, okay, I gotta be doing better." So you're making me do better by what you're doing,
Oh,
so
wow. Thank you. Meanwhile, I feel like I'm like, ah, what the-
I feel like that too.
I feel like, I don't know, like, whatever.
But no,
Thank
seriously.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you so
no, I
much.
see all the great stuff you're doing and the opportunities you're getting, and I'm like, "Okay, I gotta hustle harder. And but I've got that same mental energy because I'll have friends who are gracious enough to say to me, "Oh my gosh, you're making like me look like I'm doing nothing." I'm like, inside my head, I'm like, everything's on fire,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So
And it to me, that perspective is so amazing because like I feel sometimes like I don't know what I'm doing, like I'm all over the place, and then to have you, say something like that, or somebody in, like a patron at a club come up and say, "Oh, that was awesome," or whatever. It's like, "Oh, wow, okay, thanks." Like,
yeah.
yeah, because in the moment you're like, everything's fine. Everything's on fire. It's-
There's so much crying, you don't see.
exactly. There's so much crying. You know?
Do not read my journal. Um,
Exactly. Oh yeah, and it's just I just find that like I'm just glad that I discovered it. I'm glad that,
oh, yeah.
whether it's, you know, uh ideally I would have had that wherewithal sooner, but I
Mhm.
didn't. And like my late father used to always say, everything in its time. And just thinking back of my history, I'm just a late bloomer. I'm just a late bloomer. I've done everything like years after my peers have done it. You
Mhm.
know what I
Right.
mean? And the thing is, like, it worked out for me.
Yeah.
Like one big thing, like a thing that I'm very, very proud of was I went back to school and I got my degree. I went back to school. It felt old at the time. I went back to school at 40.
Oh,
I'd gone to school like back in the late 90s, 80s, but
right.
again, adolescent brain, young brain, I was more focused on like having fun and partying and stuff than school.
Right. Yeah.
And then my life got to a point where it was like I was turned down for a job promotion because
Okay.
it was the type of thing like between they had to choose between me and somebody else, and all
Mhm.
things being equal, they had a degree and I didn't.
Right.
And it
Yeah.
was soul crushing.
Mm.
And I remember, again, even with that soul crushing thing, I sat on it for, I want to say, another
Yeah.
5 to 8 years, and then I was like, I did it,
Yeah.
and
It's
I
funny,
graduated.
like,
Yeah.
what you're mentioning there of, like, back then, like, you were more fun and, like, you or not that you're more fun, but, like, you're more focused on, like, "Woo," and all that. I find for me as a kid, I was more like, uh, by the book, gotta follow all the rules of being an adult, gotta
Yes.
get a house, gotta do this, gotta do that. And now I'm learning how to, like, let go. It's weird how I've, like, done things, like,
Yeah,
I
I've done them like this as
did it
well. Like
backwards.
as a child, I was very, this is what's expected of me. And then
Yes,
around my 20s, I went,
yes,
woo, I want to have fun. And then like
yeah.
buttoned down, like I got married and everything, and
Mhm.
and then I got divorced and went, woo, for a little bit. And then again, like, and now I'm in my like, woo, again, sort of thing. So it's gone through phases, but I think overall, I've always been like follow the rules. Like I just think I was a late bloomer with everything, and
Yeah,
my late father used to say, everything in its time.
yeah,
Everything in
yeah,
its time, and this was probably the time, the right time, because I probably wouldn't have handled it very well at a younger
yeah.
age.
Yeah, I mean, I was writing plays long before I've got 4 plays under my belt. I've got a lot of experience with writing words for other people and shows
Mm.
being mounted, but I I don't I don't think I could have the confidence of, like, the 20-year-olds who are on an open mic list with me. I don't think that could have been me.
No,
I would
that's
have been more like,
definitely not
"Does
me.
everyone have snacks? Do you all
Yeah.
have water? Is everyone ha"
Are you well hydrated? Like, here, have some water. Yeah. No, there's no way. There's no way I couldn't do it. I couldn't. I know I couldn't do it. Even with the love I had for it
Mhm.
and like the fascination I had with it, there's
Yeah.
no way
No.
I wouldn't
No,
have been able to do it. Yeah.
there is something magical about, and again, I continue daily to work on it, but there is something magical about figuring out that your voice matters and
Yes.
has an impact. And even if you're only doing a show for like 3 people or you're doing a show for 300 people, you're gonna have somebody, if you're lucky, come up to you and say, "Oh my God, I've been thinking that. No one else has said that." That does so much to us.
Oh my
Like
God.
for those who are watching or listening as an audience member, those little moments where you're like, "Oh my God, that made me laugh so hard." That
Oh,
can do
those are
wonders for us because, like, 9 times out of 10, we're probably like, "That sucked. I did
yeah,
terrible."
yeah, yeah. Well, that happened to me
You
last night. That exact thing happened to me last night.
I
Like I
know.
didn't feel I just have I have a habit of being like, okay, I sucked. That
Yeah,
wasn't good until I like listen back or whatever. And
right.
so that one I didn't feel I wasn't like, oh, it sucked, but I was like,
Mhm.
it didn't feel as good as it
There.
usually does.
Yeah.
And so like I left like I was sitting outside and just, waiting for the show to start and like in my head too much.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
in my head too much. And then the show ended and as people came out and I like to hang around and like tell people thanks for coming or whatever.
Absolutely.
I like
Right.
to do that. I
Yeah.
like to do that. So where I was sitting was just outside the door because the room was full and
Mhm.
some of us had to sit outside to just for space.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had a bunch of people come up to me and like women going, and it feels really good. Like
It
it's
really
it like I can't even describe like unless you've experienced it, I don't think I can describe it adequately, like how good that feels and how validating and
it
everything,
really
for
does.
someone to say like you made me laugh or you're so funny or thank you and thank you. I needed to laugh like that tonight. Like it's amazing. Like that's something I'll never ever ever tire of,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
it's like a hug.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know?
Yes, and I've had
The hug
people do
for
that
that.
too. Have you actually that happened to me in Toronto, when I in February. I
Someone
think it
hugged
was
you?
yeah, yeah, I was leave I think it was the might have been the last night I was there, like the Sunday night, like the last show of the weekend.
Mhm.
And end of the night, as I'm leaving the green room, these two men were walking past the green room, and I remember seeing them in the audience. They were having a blast. They
Awesome.
were enjoying everyone, and like they were just having so much fun.
Yeah.
And as I came out, the guy turned. He's like, "You." He's like, "I fucking love you." And he's coming in to hug, and he's like, "Is this okay? Can I hug you?" I was like, "Yes." And he gave me this big bear hug. Like it was so sweet. And it wasn't like a give me a hug. It wasn't like a creepy hitting on me type of. I didn't perceive it
Yeah,
that way.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was so sweet. And he was like,
That's
"I
awesome.
fucking love you." And he hugged me and like that shit is amazing. Like always ask before you hug
Yes.
somebody. Always
Yes.
ask.
Yeah.
Because I'm a hugger. I'm a hugger. And
But you still
I'm always
gotta
like, is it okay? And
yeah.
most people say yes, but yeah, and it was just so sweet and so heartwarming and so uplifting. Like yeah,
I
it's an
love
amazing
that.
feeling. I love
I
that.
love that. Like, I just before I got on for the podcast, I was doing a virtual show, and I've got a mandate to, like, keep virtual entertainment in my
Yes,
repertoire.
I was gonna
Yeah.
talk about that too. Yes.
'Cause, like, I love the accessibility of it. I love how it can do a show with anybody, anywhere in the world, whatever your ability to walk or not walk, you can be on the show,
Yes.
do the show.
Yes.
And as soon as we were done, I got a couple of messages from those who are watching, and they were like, "Thank you, we needed the laughs. That was such a great show. Everyone was killer." And that feels so good because, yeah, we're able to go out and saunter about and do whatever we want. So the
Yeah.
fact that people took the time to sit on their phones or their laptops and watch the show
Mhm.
for an hour and a half and then send me those notes makes
Yes.
me feel so good.
Oh yeah, because I find it so cool that you still run online shows. I think that's
Yeah.
incredible because
Oh,
I know it was a saving grace for me. And like how like when the pandemic hit and like
mm,
online shows became prevalent, I was like 6 months in, 5 6 months in. Well,
okay.
how far along were you?
I was just I would have just celebrated my 4th year
Okay.
doing stand-up, and I remember, much like I'm sure a lot of comics and, you know, however long you'd been doing it, there was, like, a week where I felt like it needed a sad French music soundtrack. I was just crossing dates
I
off
was
my calendar like,
crying. Yeah, I
"Not
was just
happening."
a mess. I was a mess. Yeah,
I was
it was
a wreck,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
was thinking, like, "Is that it? Did I make the best use of the 4 years I had to do this?" Now, mind you, in the same breath, it was kind of a strange relief in a way because I was really stuck, and I felt really stuck with my stand-up. I
Okay.
felt like I was like, "I deserve to be doing that, and I'm not there yet." And I feel like I just didn't know where to go, and I sort of was like, "Oh, how do I get out of this?" So, the virtual thing for me came by a little bit accidentally. I was on a Facebook page of a New York comedy club that I was hoping to visit one day, and they made a post, "We're doing this Zoom comedy show, open mic, log in, here's the info." And I found it and I was like, "I do not know what this is, but I need to tell somebody a joke." So I
Yeah.
clicked on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like a little bit of a weird adjustment the first couple of tries, but I became a better comic.
Me too. Me too.
So
Me too. Like I don't think I would have because I was so new. I think I'd had about maybe 15 to 20 live sets by the
okay.
time things shut down, and I didn't want to lose the momentum. But
Mm,
and I hear you probably hear this too. A lot of people are like, "Oh, well, that doesn't count. That those 2 years don't count." They fucking count.
it totally counts.
They totally count because I don't think I would be where I am without that like training ground of the Zoom comedy because I learned so much just because I had access to so many people. I saw so many different styles. I met so many different people. I wasn't just in my little bubble of local comedy. Like it just expanded
Exactly.
my world, you know? And then
Yeah.
also like learning to deal with silence and things like that. Timing, all like I learned so much.
My pacing improved by
Yes.
doing virtual stuff just because the nature of glitches and
Yes.
kind of talking over each other. I learned how to slow down my speech, which was
Yes.
hugely beneficial to
Exact
me.
same. Because I used to be like, because you like I got to get everything in these 6 minutes, sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you learn that okay, you just slow it down, and if you only get 5 jokes in instead of 10,
Yeah.
at least those are 5 quality jokes and hopefully 5 sets
Mm,
of quality laughs. Yeah,
yeah.
it changed everything for
It
me, and
absolutely did.
I
And
learned
this
so much.
yeah, and this is just like another way of performing. It's just
Yes.
another it's a variation on the theme. I
Hmm.
fully realize I am not in a comedy club right now.
Yes.
I am in my
Yes.
living room,
But I used to
but
prepare the same way.
yeah, it's the same
I
thing.
would put makeup on, I would do my hair, at
Yep.
least from the waist up, I'd be dressed nicely. I would treat it like I was going to I would treat it that way because that's all we had, and I would treat it the same I would give it the same respect
Mhm.
as if I was, like, leaving the apartment, getting in my car,
Yep. Yep.
driving to a venue and performing there. I gave it the same respect.
Yeah. And that stuff shows when you put the time in to preparing yourself. I've seen a
Yes.
ton of shows where people are lying in their bed or
Yeah.
doing whatever. Um, but when you take that time because people are making the time to come watch you.
Yes.
And this is more like it's sort of like personal pizza in a way, because like I'm looking directly to you. I'm telling this to you. It's kind of like good preparation for TV
Yeah.
because you're keeping your eyes focused. You know, it's great writing prep
Yeah.
and it's accessible, which is like the
It's
biggest
huge. Because I
takeaway
never
for
thought about accessibility. I'm an able-bodied woman. I never
me too.
thought
Yeah.
I never really thought about accessibility
Yeah. Yeah.
till I met people in the comedy world who can't perform as much as I do, or certain venues are not, they can't,
They
certain
can't get in
venues are even an option for them because they can't get in.
or can't pee
Yeah,
if
yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yes, like
Yeah.
basic necessities
Yeah.
aren't
And I have to pee
available.
a lot before my set. So
Oh, you're a nervous peer.
very much so. Very much so. Like, I I've come out of the pandemic wanting to be a better ally to my friends who use wheelchairs or walkers or who just can't walk around as I do. I want
Yeah,
to be it's not their job to tell me to do this. It's
right.
my job to make more spaces to
Yes.
allow for that. So like virtual stuff checks that box. In real life, um, I've got a monthly show at the Imperial Pub in Toronto that
Mhm.
is 100% accessible.
Accessible,
You can go to the
yes.
bathroom, you can come do the show, you can come watch the show.
Yeah,
So that's my thing now. I want to take all these tools that I've learned from the pandemic and apply them
in
elsewhere
real
because I
life,
feel like
yeah.
if I don't, everything just gets shot out of a cannon and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I see it as um like when we were still in the thick of the pandemic and we had
Yeah.
all the restrictions in place,
Yeah.
that like at live venues there was a plexiglass, and then they were
Right.
switching out microphones or
Yeah.
wiping down the microphones,
Yeah.
putting like the mic condoms and just like all these precautions, and then as soon as the restrictions were over it was like, oh, we're not doing that anymore.
I
It's
know,
like,
and I miss it.
okay, get rid of the plexiglass. That sucked. I hated that.
That did. It
That
was
that
weird.
that it was hot back there. You couldn't see anything. You couldn't hear. It was you. Yeah, you were like you felt like a plant.
Yeah.
Yeah, like fuck the plexiglass. I'm glad that's gone. But why did we have to stop cleaning the mics? And like, why did
Those
that
mics
stuff
are
have to?
gross. They
Yeah, mics
smell
are
so bad.
disgusting. They are disgusting.
Ugh.
And you don't think about it. I never thought about it till COVID. That's like we're all like
Yeah.
into a mic or
Yeah. No,
coughing into it, or it's disgusting.
I am still Miss Mic Cover when I feel like the opportunity. Some clubs I feel like they take enough caution. I don't have to worry about it. But some open mics, I'm like, I'm bringing the mic covers.
Yeah,
Because those audience don't know how much those things can stink.
they can stink. Yeah, because people are just spitting into them. It's like you're literally spitting.
Yeah.
And the thing, like during, I bought my own microphone, so instead
Right.
of, so it was not a big deal for me to like use my own
Yeah.
microphone because they're switching it out anyway. But when that stopped, I was like, well, I'm still going to do it. And I
Yeah.
remember being at a club, and when I did it, I heard a voice go, "Ooh, fancy." And I was like, this is too, it's too conspicuous because I'm not just taking the mic. It's like I gotta take it out, just put this
Right.
back, and I stopped. I stopped
Oh.
doing it because I
Okay.
it made me so self conscious,
Mhm.
and I felt like, okay, I'm taking up time.
Yeah. But no, like, yeah, it's that whole practice of like cleanliness and like taking care. It's the same thing. Like I still wear a mask in I use it mostly in very crowded spaces. I still have the mask on at a club or
Mhm.
whatever. Don't make me feel bad that I'm doing it. If
No,
those things make someone feel better,
let them do
let
it. Let just
them
leave
do
them
it.
alone.
Who cares?
Exactly. Exactly. I know.
Yeah.
I know. And it's like I know I should still use my microphone and stuff like that, but I it made me so self-conscious that I was just like, forget it. I'm not.
Yeah.
So there have been a few times where I was like, I wish I had my mic because this is disgusting. Where I've like surreptitiously put a mic cover on, and it's like, okay, but but overall, and I just wish that those things didn't go out the window as soon as you know,
Yeah.
yeah. So like how you're taking the accessibility issues that you learned and you discovered, and you're trying to apply them
Mhm.
in the live world. That's amazing. That's an amazing thing you're doing. I also wish that that attitude carried over with the cleanliness
Yes.
things. You know, yeah, like plexiglass, yeah, get out of here. Get out of here. But yeah, just like, why can't we still swap out the mics?
Yeah.
Because you've
Yeah,
got the mics, they're there. It's not like you gotta go, they're there.
exactly.
Because I'm
Yeah.
sure no club, no venue has one microphone.
I'd hope not.
I think they have a, yeah, like they're there. We were able to use them, and it really didn't take that much time. Like if everyone's doing it, it's seamless because you take
Yeah.
the mic off and you go up, the next person goes up with another mic, and as
Yeah.
when the other mic comes off, you clean that one, whatever. Like it's a system. Like it could work. Like
No, I hear that. It's like, you know, I found I became possibly a little too hyper aware of like germs and things around me at the height of the
yes.
pandemic, but now it's like, okay, we are now aware of how easy it is that we can infect each other with
Yes.
whatever.
With exactly, not just COVID, anything. Yes.
And I don't think we're doing ourselves any justice by pretending like, oh, can't see it. No,
Yeah,
it's not happening. But, we want to go back
exactly.
to ways before when we felt better and like knew but didn't know. So
But the thing is, we do know.
we do know. Yeah.
We do know. And we do know. But
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
I know.
So
Parts of me miss days of lockdown. Parts of me.
sometimes, yeah,
Sometimes
yeah,
I do.
yeah. Like I'm happy to be able to go places, but
Yes.
there was
Yeah.
something, I don't know, there was something almost comforting that everyone was locked up. I don't know. None
It
of
was
us
just
could go
nice to be
anywhere. Like,
outside. Yeah.
that like we were all at home sort of thing, you know?
Yeah. Like there was an essence of it. I was like,
Yeah,
it was nice.
yeah, yeah, yeah. When everyone was doing Zoom shows and everyone was, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There was some like a weird nostalgia. Like I don't,
I know.
you know, it, yeah. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
something about that aspect of it, not the whole
No. No.
pandemic thing, but just that collective thing of we were all online, we were all
Yeah.
like the world became a little smaller
It
at
did.
that point.
I mean, a lot of shit. I feel like the 20s as a decade so far, we're only in 2020. I love that I looked at my calendar for that as if I forgot. Um, but the decades of the 20s, oh, there are a lot.
Yeah, a
A
lot went down in those
lot.
3 years. A lot went down in those 3 years. And the thing is, 2020 feels like decades ago. It feels close
I
and
know.
far at the same time. And my whole concept of time is all messed up too.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
Yeah.
did that, okay, I remember this event, this thing.
Mhm.
What year was it? 20? Was it 21? Was it 20? When did this happen? Like I have no idea. I don't remember. I don't know. Like,
I hear you. Time. What is time?
hey, time. What is time?
Oh
It's a
god.
construct, whatever.
Yes.
Well, I think we need to wrap
Sure.
this up. Like you need to come back because
I
we've
will. You gotta come
scratched
back on
this.
the baking show. I'll come
I'd
back
love
too.
to. I'd
Okay.
love to because we've just barely scratched the surface of all the shit we could talk about, you know. Because there are things I wanted to talk about. We haven't even gone there yet, like this. So you definitely have to come
Art
back.
series.
Yeah, yeah, whole series exactly. So you have to come back
Absolutely.
at some point. Like we'll we'll
I'd love to.
arrange our schedules, so that would
Yeah.
be awesome. So to wrap up, would you like to play my silly game of silly questions?
I love me a silly game. Let's do it.
Great. So I have a list of 250 questions. We're not gonna do all 250.
Good.
And I and I will ask you to pick a number between 1 and 249. It used to be 250, but I deleted a question. I haven't replaced it yet. So
All right.
you'll pick a number between 1 and 249, and I will read you the corresponding question.
All right. Let's go with number 15.
15.
Yeah.
What has been some funny advice someone gave you?
Some funny advice someone gave me. Um, that's a good question. Um, I think just don't be afraid. It's not funny, but just don't be afraid to fail. I don't think we say that enough to each other. It sort of sounds like counterintuitive of like failure's good. But
But it is.
anytime someone's encouraged me to just go try it, it's been the best. So yeah.
Oh yeah. And I think we're society as a whole, we're conditioned that we're not supposed to fail and we're supposed to be happy
Mhm.
all the time. And it's like, no, we're supposed to feel a range of emotions, and failure is part of success. Like
Right.
you need it. Is it fun? No. But it's a necessary. It's necessary. It's like that's the only way you're gonna learn or grow or whatever, that's
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, another number, please.
Number 45.
45. What is the most important aspect of one's personality that is not associated with a person's appearance?
Um, a handshake.
A handshake.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, you could.
I will judge you if you have a shitty handshake.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Or they just grab the fingers, like
Exactly. I will create thoughts based on your handshake.
it's true. Whether it's crushing or it's just the. Yeah, it's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, it says a lot.
That says a lot. It does. It does. Okay, another number, please.
Let's go with number 3.
Number 3.
Yeah.
What's the scariest thing you've ever done?
Um, aside from stand up.
Yeah. It should be like, apart from stand up, what's the scariest thing you've ever done?
um, oh my. Be happy. It's sometimes scary to live a life that makes you happy because you're probably not going to make a lot of money. You're probably not.
Yeah,
Um,
or face a lot of judgment.
or face a lot of judgment. But it is so important, but it's terrifying to follow your bliss, which sounds, counterintuitive, but
Yeah, because you would think, oh, this would make me happy. I should pursue it. But we're
then you
both
worry
living
about your
examples
responsibility.
of,
Yeah,
not pursuing it, even though it's turned out to be bliss. We've discovered it's bliss, but it took a while
yeah,
to get there. It took a
yeah.
while to do it.
And
Yeah.
and like every day I'm like, why did I not become a lawyer? There's like days where I have those things, but it's really, if you are able to figure out how to pursue a life that fulfills you and makes you happy, if you are able to do that, because I realize some people just can't, life
Mhm.
just doesn't allow.
Yes, yes.
Um, it's a scary leap.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And also on that vein is that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can
exactly.
do that thing
Exactly.
that feeds your soul and do the practical thing that pays the bills.
Yeah.
You can do them both. And like for many years I thought it was like one or the other. You can't do
No.
both. But
No.
you can totally do both.
Yeah.
Or all three, or what, however many
Exactly.
things. Like you can fill your soul and be responsible,
Hmm.
for lack of a better term. Like you
Yeah.
can do both. You can do that. You
Yeah.
can do that.
Yeah.
This was lovely. I wish we could talk for hours more, but I will have you back. I
I
will
would
have
love
you
that.
back for sure. I don't think I asked you for your I don't think I asked you for your socials where people can find you. I don't think I asked you that at the top of the show. Can
I
you?
don't think you did.
Yeah, I don't think I did. I meant to, but
That's okay. So folks can take my name, Kelly Zemnickis, and find me on YouTube or Facebook. My Instagram handle's a little different. It's the Latvian Foodie. That's TheLatvian Foodie. On Twitter, I am Aya Green. It's my middle name, Aija Green. You may ask why isn't all consistent, but that would make life dull, everybody.
and most of us weren't thinking ahead when we came up with our handles for stuff.
All the aspects of my personality. So
So thank you very much. I will include that information in the show
awesome.
notes. I love you to bits.
Oh, I
Thank
love
you
you
so
too.
much
Thanks
for
for having
being
me.
here today, and I'll have you back. Stay
That would
tuned,
be
people. We'll have her back,
awesome.
and thank you all for listening. And we'll see you next time. Bye.